Hello and welcome back to Talk Richmond with me, your host, Jim Millard. As we approach the summer holidays, it's important to raise awareness, particularly amongst younger residents, of the dangers of the River Thames. It's a beautiful part of our borough, of course, but it's important to treat it with respect, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by the Borough Commander of the London Fire Brigade, ROBERT.DAVIES, to discuss water safety in Richmond-upon-Thames. The London Fire Brigade is working with Richmond Council to familiarise residents with water safety guidance with the aim of reducing the numbers of young people engaging in dangerous behaviours. So to tell us more about this, and without further ado, I'm very pleased to say a very warm welcome, Robert, to Talk Richmond. Hello.
Good morning, Councillor Millard. How are we today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you very much.
You're joining me, I can hear, from Twickenham Fire Station, is that right?
I am, yes. That's where my office is based, actually within the station. So I've got firefighters all around me, not actually in the office, but I can see them now outside in the appliance bay working away.
Excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time to join us. This is obviously a very important piece of work. And I understand you've created, with Richmond Council, a water safety video, is that right?
We have, yes. So part of my, essential part of my job really is looking at the risks within the borough and to work to mitigate that risk. We've done some real good partnership working, not only with the leaders of the council, but also our partners in the RNLI, LAS and Met Police. And part of that sort of proactive piece of work that we done on the run up to the summer was to make a water safety video that's had some really great traction. It's on my Twitter feed. It's also on Richmond Council's website. So periodically, especially on the run up to the good weather, we tried to up that exposure. So I always put the link onto Richmond's X feed.
Well, fantastic. And we'll make sure the show notes include a link as well. But for those, this is an audio format, of course. We're in a podcast. So can you summarise what the advice is in that video?
So essentially, it was based around the reaction to a fatal incident in 2022. Richmond Council, along with myself, used some data and local knowledge to install some safety equipment in and around the rivers. So just to give you a little bit of a taste of our risk, we own the longest stretch of River Thames in any borough in London, so just over 22.5 miles. We cover both sides of the River Thames and also tidal and non-tidal. So it's a real risk for us. And in response, we've put up 17 throw-line boards. We are leading the way in any borough of London. No other borough has that amount. Essentially, it's an emergency piece of equipment that tells the caller what to do in an emergency. It also holds a vital life-saving equipment in the way of a throw line. So it's a board on the riverbank that has a secure safe in it. You call 999, that releases the code. It also tells the emergency services exactly where you are. So we mobilise all blue light partners, RNLI, Met Police, LAS, London Fire Brigade, and also the control operator will stay on the line with the person making the call and talk them through how to effect the rescue.
Well, that's obviously brilliant, and you've set out a bit about what we're doing in partnership to respond to this risk. But can I ask more about what the risk is? I mean, obviously some young people are tempted at this time of year to jump into the river. What is the difference, to put it in simple terms, between swimming in a swimming pool versus jumping into open water like that?
Okay, so there's many risks that the Thames offers. Some of them are not starkly apparent. So I think the biggest difference for me is that, of course, pools have trained lifeguards. Pools don't have tidal, they don't have differences in temperature. So what probably most of our listeners wouldn't be aware of, because the Thames is a moving body and also carries a bit of debris in it and a bit of algae, what will happen is the top around 60 centimetres of water will be hugely different in temperature to underneath the 60 centimetres. So it can be a difference in 10 degrees. So if you enter the water safely, although you are still cold and you won't be feeling the effects of what we call cold water shock, if you penetrate water further than that 60 degrees, that's when the shock really gets hold of you. You could have a gasp effect and you take in water. But essentially what will be happening slowly, and some people don't feel it immediately, is that the warm oxygenated blood will retract from your muscles, from your leg muscles and from your arm muscles, into the essential core to try and keep you warm. It's a survival technique that the body has. What we generally see then is people thrashing on the water, and unfortunately, most people can't stay on the surface, go down again, the shock gets you again, and can have, obviously, fatal effects.
Yes, and we've seen that in this borough, and it is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's so tragic. I think we're doing quite well at getting the message out about cold water shock, and it's interesting, I think, what you kind of were highlighting there, that we can almost get our heads around that if you jump off a bridge, you don't know what you're jumping into, and you could very likely not judge the temperature and you will get cold water shock. But you're also saying if you enter from the bank and start swimming across a river, you might think you're doing all right, but halfway through, cold shock can take hold as you get into deeper water. And we've also seen that have tragic consequences.
Yes, absolutely. We have. And in fact, only last year we had that exact thing happen. And part of our educational piece and part of our engagement with the communities that we reach out to is exactly that. Do not attempt to swim across the River Thames, because if you do get in trouble halfway across, you're in no man's land. So we would always advise people to use the Thames respectfully. It's a lovely stretch of the river that we have, but use it safely and try and swim within your depth and along lengthways of the river in an area that is known. So, not only have we got cold water shock and the underwater tidal system, you've got floating debris that can move around unseen. There's lots of dangers associated with the River Thames.
How can people stay safe and safely enjoy the river?
There are groups that do open water swimming groups. Treat the water respectfully. Don't swim around weirs, bridges, anything like that. So anything that we introduce to the water, and our water demonstrator, we show this, will have a change in effect on the water and on the tide itself. So just by introducing a weir massively changes the aspects and the dynamics of the water. Choose your area of swimming safely. Always do it within your own depth and make sure that you are with competent swimmers.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously, I suppose, you can enjoy the river in other ways.
Absolutely. Yes. So we have paddle boarders, canoeists, people that go out on pleasure boats. So that we are seeing a massive increase now in people using the River Thames. And that's another really good point, that the more traffic that we have on the river, the more danger there is to swimmers. So it's even more important to pick your spot and be cautious.
Are you able to tell us what people can do to help? I know you've touched on this a bit when you were talking about the network of things that have been set up. What can people do to help? This is the key question. If they see someone in trouble in the River Thames.
So as I mentioned before, we have 17 throw line boards down the River Thames, and there are other pieces of life-saving equipment in life buoys, etc. My advice would be, if unfortunately somebody gets into trouble, the RNLI do this great campaign called Float to Live, and that is to tell the person to relax, lie on their back, with their ears submerged, concentrate on their breathing and spread their arms and legs. What we'll find, if people do that and relax, they are able to remain afloat. Keep talking to them. If you can get something to them, that's all well and good. Look out for one of our throw lines, but most importantly, dial 999, ask for the emergency services. We have an RLI station based within Richmond in Teddington, and they're a fantastic crew. They get on the water very, very quickly, and they can rapidly respond. London Fire Brigade also will respond at the same time as with other blue light partners. One piece of equipment that we are trialling at the moment, Jim, that your listeners might be interested in, is what's called a reach pole. It's a new piece of equipment up to 17 metres long, made out of carbon fibre, and it has all different connections that we can put on it to effect a rescue on someone. So even if someone is unconscious in the water, we can effect a rescue effectively using this new trial-in piece of equipment.
Is that something you carry on your fire engines?
Yes. So it's carried on the frontline fire engines, not only in our borough, but we've actually pushed out to our partners in Hounslow and Kingston. So either side of us also have this piece of equipment.
Other boroughs obviously adjoin the river. We have an even more focused stewardship of the river, because we're the only London borough that the river runs through the middle of. That defines a lot of aspects of the borough and how seriously we take water safety. So before we came on air, you briefly mentioned that I was talking to you from, not only is it Twickenham Fire Station, but it's something to do with water safety.
Yeah, so we've got the first ever, certainly in London Fire Brigade, Water Safety Centre of Excellence, opened up by ourselves, and we also had Councillor Roberts, leader of the council, along with hierarchy of London Fire Brigade, Met Police, etc. And even the Deputy Mayor of London attended. So really exciting day, very busy. We showcased our new water safety demonstrator, where we target young males, generally of a teenage age. And the reason why we do that, Jim, is because our data tells us that is our target audience. That's our biggest risk. So out of the unfortunate deaths that we've had in and around the River Thames, certainly within this borough, majority of them are, unfortunately, young teenage boys. So we had a school come to us. We had a big water safety input to them. We done a demonstration with the water safety demonstrator, which essentially shows them the risks visually. And then we done some pro-line training with our partners in the RNLI. We had some great media coverage from the BBC and Rags Martel from ITV. It's great that we're getting that and getting the word out.
Fantastic. And this is, another opportunity to add to that, which is great. And this demonstration, is this the tank that I'm hearing about?
It is. So
tell us more about it.
Yes. Okay. So essentially, it's a simulation of a stretch of river. So we can put currents in it. We can simulate weirs, strainers. So down in Sunbury, we have a huge Thames water plant that intakes water from the Thames to process to supply the reservoirs. Obviously, the draw on that strainer is huge. So we have thousands and thousands of gallons of water being drawn in from the River Thames. That has an effect on the river. So that causes a massive tidal flow, and the pressure that will cause in the water, if you are close to it, can be up to 400 tonnes. Now, I'm quite fit, and I've been a firefighter for nearly 27 years. I couldn't lift 400 tonne. I'm not too sure about yourself, Jim.
No. Not anymore. Now I'm getting on a bit. Yeah.
But the danger of that, and we can demonstrate that with our simulator, is that can pull you in and trap you underneath the water, having devastating effects, obviously. We can show people visually what a stanchion of a bridge does to water. So it will be calm on one side. If you come too close to the stanchion, the current and the speed of the water changes dramatically. Can be up to 5 times quicker. So all of a sudden you're canoeing or swimming around, you get too close and you'll get pulled across and through the bridge. And then you end up in a place, several hundred metres down the river and away from the other people that you were swimming with or canoeing with. So it's a visual demonstration of what we associate as hydrophenomenon or risks within the River Thames.
That sounds like an amazing piece of technology. And what impact do you think it will have for young people?
So the feedback that we're having has been really, really positive. I've stood in certain schools in the borough and tried to do a talk around risks and explain hydrophenomenon and risk. And it's really difficult to get that message across. But when we use that talk and that engagement alongside the simulator, you could actually see that light bulb moment where they actually get it. And we can demonstrate even the strong swimmers can get pulled back by the current several times. And we talk about fatigue, even for those children that consider themselves to be strong swimmers. That visual demonstration is really key of getting our message across.
So in addition to you continuing with going out to schools, as you described it, are you bringing groups of students to come to Twickenham Fire Station?
Absolutely we are, yes. So we will be targeting schools, certainly this time of year, scout groups, etc., etc. And also it's a real partnership with our RNLI partners. What I've done is I've opened it up to them as well, so they are free to use that at any time. So it's a real borough asset for any of our partners to target groups, to bring them into the station and to demonstrate the risks that we have.
And if anyone's listening who is, whether you're part of running a school or any organisation that works with young people, I'm assuming you'd be very pleased to hear from them if they'd like to arrange something with you.
Absolutely, I would, yes. They can contact me via email, or you can go onto London Fire Brigade's website. My contact details are in there. There's a borough profile. There's also a risk management plan, so you can see exactly what I'm doing in and around the borough in terms of risks. And the demonstrator is on there. There's a visual of the demonstrator on there. Feel free to contact me. We can book in and arrange a visit. I'm more than happy to facilitate that, Jim.
Well, that sounds really amazing. Thanks, Robert. And do you have any other resources to teach residents about water safety?
Yes, the room that we've created is really just dedicated to the big risk that is the River Thames. So we have a demo board on the wall inside the room where we can simulate somebody getting into trouble, somebody calling the emergency services, receiving the code, receiving life-saving equipment, and then deploying it and actually practicing with it. So we've got a real root and branch process that we can use alongside our simulator, as well as other visuals we got from RNLI and their input, because the water safety message really is for all partners and it's for everybody in the borough.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, I don't think we can say fairer than that you've left that on a very good note. And I mean, is there anything else you want to say as we draw to the end of this particular podcast?
No, just thank you to yourself for allowing me the airtime and assisting with getting out that really crucial safety message.
Anytime. Always a pleasure, Robert, as you know. And it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Talk Richmond to talk about this incredibly important campaign, to tell us about these fantastic resources that we now have in the borough to help raise awareness. It's so incredibly important for young people to understand the hazards and stay safe around water. I'd encourage all of those of you listening to check the show notes for links to this campaign. As we've said, there's links to the video and full information about how to access training and support. If you have any questions or concerns, as always, please email talk@richmond.gov.uk and we will do our very best to help answer them. And as always, please do share this episode with any friends or family if you think it would help. And of course, leave a review to help spread the word. Help us make a splash. I'm Jim Millard. Thanks very much for listening.